Okay, how y'all doing? So, I'm still going to be reading Alice in Wonderland's going on teaching schedule, especially with my new position in SPED specifically. And it's all, again, new school. First time here in my apartment on my own, being Sherlock, who you may or may not hear over there. So, I'm going to be doing two other things on here, at least. Maybe other things if I come up with other things. But one, because copyright can be kind of hard. And yeah, if I do get the copyright chance, I will read full books that are not necessarily public domain. But if not, I wanted to still be able to because the whole point is not just, okay, I love having the experience of knowing I got to put my own and got the book out into somebody else's hands in some way, like I did with my students and have done with my students and such in the past. So this would be me being able to just at least get that started, and that would be the first chapter as a preview. So you can see, no, it's worth it. And then the other thing I'm probably going to do is read books in Spanish as part of my practice for my learning how to speak Spanish. And then for any of y'all who are trying, you can see my efforts and such and maybe learn a little more with me. Or if you're a Spanish student of English, you can see me practicing and feel like, oh, okay, this teacher that, especially if I'm a student that knows me, that I know is trying their hardest to learn my language and is messing up and is letting everybody see it or whatever and is getting better at this, that, and the other, taking advice. We'll see. I'll probably start with something, just a really short little silly, almost stupid thing with that one. But for right now, I'm going to do this for the advertising of an amazing book. Now, y'all probably have heard of this series in terms of the movies, especially. There are also TV shows and stuff, which I will say amazing if you can get a hold of all of it. Oh my God. And by the way, I will say for the audiobooks, David Tennant reads it, and it makes more sense as to why all the adults in the movies have Scottish accents, especially considering the author Cressida Cowell. And he does go into the TV show, and it's amazing. Anyway, this, the books are different, but in an amazing way, where it's just like two great things, different and awesome at the same time. Just, they have the same heart. It's the exactness of it that is different. It's just, yeah, it is. It's kind of like how you can love different versions of a lot of things. It's like here's the British version of this, here's the American version of this. Like you can love the different sparks somebody does it. Like if you tell one person, here, paint a tree, you tell this person to paint a tree. Even if they both totally get the idea of tree, it's gonna, and even if they do the same type of tree, they can both be amazing, but just different. So, let's see. Also, my two favorite paintings in the background. Just worked out that this happened when I decided to say here. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you're curious, it does say autism, seeing the world in a different, seeing the world differently, because like I said, I am autistic and ADHD, late diagnosis. Okay. So, let's get started. But I will point out the key difference that you will see starting here. In the movies, the How to Train Your Dragon is, oh, we're fighting dragons. What if we trained them instead? For the book, How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell, it is, they already do train dragons. It's like, yeah, but how? As in, like, do we have to do it like this? Or can we do it a different way? Kind of like how teaching in the past, they used to be really mean to kids, and they would also just make them, okay, just I'm going to write stuff on the board, you copy it down 1,000 times. Like you write 2 + 2 = 4 1,000 times. You write Washington was the first president of the United States 1,000 times, and at some point you'll learn it. And we now are like trying to be more nice about it to really get you in and make you actually learn it in a different way. You'll see here, there is a How to Train Your Dragon book inside the book, but there's like nothing in it in Hiccup's life. And you'll notice something big about Toothless. I want to make a comment there, but I won't. And even then, once you're like, wait, this is what this is? If you read the whole series, you'll find out something even crazier about what Toothless is. That actually relates to something that you see in the first movie, where it's like, no way. Okay. And this one has a lot more pictures than most books usually do. It's not quite as full as, like, say a Wimpy Kid book or something, but it's not a manga or nothing like that, but it's definitely gotten to even start you off with images to let you know. So, How to Train Your Dragon, this is the, like, symbol, I believe, of, like, the Harry Hooligan tribe. And here's our intro. How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida, Cowell. And she has to let us know in her little hiccupy writing, please note any relation to any historical fact whatsoever is entirely coincidental, because the Viking thing is very, like, steeped in, like, myths and stuff. Like as Rose from Golden Girls would say, Longenherden, the horns. Okay, such as this, we get and the titles of the chapters are amazing, by the way. So, novices of the Harry Hooligan tribe. So, novice means someone who's new. So we have, and by the way, there are names that you will know, and you know what, people who are missing entirely, that never show up in the books. And then people that are like itty bitty, mean nothing, and then they brought up more or not, or brought up in different ways. So, and unlike his set of classmates he had when he was training his dragons first with Gobber in the fighting dragons in his academy to begin with, these are his classmates. So Hiccup himself, Dog's Breath the Dubbrain, very mean nicknames, Clueless, Fish Legs, quite a difference there, Snotlout, yeah, I know, the face, Warthog, Tough Nut Jr., and Speedafast. So, and then the chapters are always interesting. Some of them are just simple, like anything you ever get, but sometimes they will get to really, especially when you get later into the book, some of them be like, kind of make you laugh and just be like, hey, kind of hiccup going, what did I tell you? So, all of these books start with a note from the hero, which is a boy Hiccup, and then you have the map of Berk. There's Meathead Island, the Isle of Berk, and the North Island, and it gives goofy little things all around it. Cannibal Isle, ooh, people who eat people. I'm not going to go through every little bit of that, but you can see. And there's, of course, again, another photo of Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, which they go more into the fact that it is the third in the book series, especially later on. And you get way more details on that. Okay, so here's your note from the hero. There were dragons when I was a boy, and they did use this in the movies because it's a huge thing that gets repeated over and over again and has more meaning as you get into the things. And you can find tributes that people have made that I might even link in the description, where they do a tribute to the end of the movie series with that audio of David Tennant doing this. So let's see. There were dragons when I was a boy. There were great grim sky dragons that nested on the cliff tops like gigantic scary birds. Little brown scuttly dragons that hunted down the mice and rats in well-organized packs. Preposterously huge sea dragons that were 20 times as big as the big blue whale, and who've killed for the fun of it. You will have to take my word for it, for the dragons are disappearing so fast they may soon become extinct. And if you've seen the last How to Train Your Dragon movie, that starts to be like, even though it happens in a different way. Nobody knows what is happening. They're crawling back into the sea from whence they came, leaving not a bone and not a fang in the earth for men of the future to remember them by. So in order that these amazing creatures should not be forgotten, I will tell this story from my childhood. I was not the sort of boy who could train a dragon with the mere lifting of an eyebrow. I had to work at it. This is the story of becoming a hero the hard way. So if you thought you couldn't be a hero or something, different. Any of my older people or people who've been shown by older people or found on their own somehow, Courage the Cowardly Dog, I think Courage would probably fit well with this because his name is not a misnomer. He does have courage because courage is doing something even though you're scared. Because sometimes it's stupid to not be scared. Like if there's a shark and it's coming after you, yeah, it might be brave to if you can like be a hero and stop it without, anybody getting hurt or something, great. But if you're not scared, then you might be stupid, not brave, because that's, you have to be smart enough to know that is dangerous, even if I am going to face it and stop it or save myself or somebody else. Hiccup's kind of like that. Let's see. Or at least it seems that way. Okay. First, catch your dragon. Long ago in the wild and windy Isle of Berk, a smallish Viking with a longish name stood to his ankles in snow. Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III. Fitting description. The hope and heir to the tribe of the Hairy Hooligans. But had been feeling slightly sick ever since he woke up that morning. And by the way, a hooligan normally is like someone who's causing trouble, kind of like usually a kid or a teenager or something. He's just running around causing trouble. Like the teachers that, you hooligans, sit down. The image of the old version of a teacher who just doesn't like fun kind of thing. Anyway, 10 boys, including Hiccup, were hoping to become full members of the tribe by passing the Dragon Initiation Program. Initiation being like, okay, you haven't been here before, and we're going to get you into doing this, get you into this group, get you into this thing. So you're part of the group, part of the activity, part of the whatever. They were standing on a bleak little beach. So it's like, kind of like not welcoming. At the bleakest spot on the whole bleak island. So it's just not fun. A heavy snow was falling. I want to look real quick at bleak because that's a good one. Especially when they repeated it a bunch of times. Let's get the exact wording on that. Because you might say your prospects look bleak. Like, even with all your studying, maybe your chance of passing that test looks bleak. That's something you might say. Or if you forget to do something before mom gets home, and it's like this much time to do it, and it's like a big thing, you might be like, the chances of getting that done before she gets home might be bleak. So exposed, barren, and often windswept. So sometimes bleak means there's just nothing there, like a desert kind of situation. It can be cold and raw, like a bleak November morning, like when you're kind of cold and kind of like scary kind of way, like, ooh, it's not very happy seeming. Lacking in warmth, life, or kindliness, grim, not hopeful or encouraging, depressing, or severely simple or austere. So like a bleak hotel room would be one with literally just the bed, maybe a lamp, and that's about it. Bare minimum. Like, you could say probably army barracks would probably be pretty bleak because it's just bare minimum. Pay attention! Screamed Gobber the Belch, the soldier in charge of teaching initiation. This will be your military operation, and Hiccup will be commanding the team. Oh, not Hiccup, groaned Dogsbeth the Doebrain and most of the other boys. You can't put Hiccup in charge, sir. He's useless. And they put it in capital letters. And by the way, there's Gobber the Belch, idiot in charge of initiation. Because Hiccup does not have much of a high idea of his fellow Vikings. And some of these names, it's like, well, the name wouldn't really make you think much of it. Hiccup-Horrendous Haddock III, the hope and heir to the tribe of the Hairy Hooligans, wiped his nose miserably on his sleeve. He sank a little deeper into the snow. Anybody would be better than a Hiccup, sneered Snot-Faced Snotlout. Even Fishlegs would be better than Hiccup. Fishlegs had a squint that made him blind as a jellyfish and an allergy to reptiles. Uh-oh. Silence! Roared Gobber the Belch. The next boy who speaks has limpets for lunch for the next 3 weeks. I'm going to say about limpets. Let's see. Because it's something kind of like in the clam kind of area, like way down there kind of thing. A marine mollusk, so yeah, same thing as like in clams and snails and stuff like that. Clings to someone or something, and here, let me get a picture. Let's see. Limpets. And since they're talking about eating it, that's the... Oh, it moved it as soon as I turned it around. There it is. And, but of course they don't have a fancy chef or something cooking it. So... there's the before anything does anything to it kind of thing. Okay. So there was an absolute silence immediately. Limpets are a bit like worms and a bit like snot and a lot less tasty than either. So I guess they're talking about what's inside that shell. Hiccup will be in charge, and that is an order, screamed Gobber, who didn't do noises quieter than screaming. Some people tend to think that about me in terms of when I actually do start talking. Even though I am an introvert and will just sit in the corner and read or something. Let's see. He was a 7-foot giant with a mad glint in his eyes. So like they kind of like sparkle, like, and they don't mean mad like he's angry. They mean like crazy, like Mad Hatter. And his one working eye and a beard like exploding fireworks. What a description. Despite the freezing cold, he was wearing hairy shorts and a teeny-weeny deerskin vest that showed off his lobster red skin and bulging muscles. Ouch, he sunburned like crazy, or some kind of allergic reaction. He was holding a flaming torch in one gigantic fist. Hiccup will be leading you, although he is admittedly completely useless, because Hiccup is the son of the chief. And that is the way things go with us Vikings. Where do you think you are? The Republic of Rome! Because the Vikings and the Roman Empire were existing at the same time. Anyway, that is the least of your problems today. You are here to prove yourself as a Viking hero. And it is an ancient tradition of the hooligan tribe that you should... Gobber paused dramatically. First, catch your dragon! So they have to catch it. They're not trying to kill it. hunt it. They're trying to catch it. So, and real quick, Hiccup's over here freezing. Not liking listening to this. And, suffering scallops. Which is exactly what Hiccup just says. Oh, suffering scallops, thought Hiccup. Our dragons are what set us apart, bellowed Gobber. Lesser humans train hawks to hunt for them, horses to carry them. It is only Viking heroes who dare to tame the wildest, most dangerous creatures on earth. Gobber spat solemnly into the snow like, there are 3 parts of the dragon initiation test. The first and most dangerous part is a test of your courage and skill at burglary. If you wish to enter the Hairy Hooligan tribe, you must first catch your dragon. And that is why, continued Gobber at full volume, I have brought you to the scenic spot. Like it's a scene. It's something pretty to look at kind of thing, usually. Although, clearly from our description, probably not. Take a look at Wild Dragon Cliff itself. Hiccup taking a look. The 10 boys tipped their heads backwards, because it's tall. Like if you were in New York and you go to look at a building. The cliff loomed dizzyingly high above them, black and sinister. In summer, you could barely even see the cliff as dragons of all shapes and sizes swarmed over it, snapping and biting and sending up a cacophony of noise that could be heard all over Burke. But in winter, the dragons were hibernating and the cliff fell silent, except for the ominous low rumble of their snores. Hiccup could feel the vibrations through his sandals. Now, said Gobber, do you notice those 4 cliffs about halfway up the cliff, grouped roughly in the shape of a skull? The boys nodded. Inside the cave that would be the right eye of the skull is the dragon nursery. Nursery means babies. Where there are, at this very moment, 3,000 young dragons having their last few weeks of winter sleep. Guess they hibernate. Ooh, muttered the boys excitedly. Hiccup swallowed hard. He's gulping. He happened to know considerably more about dragons than anybody else there. Ever since he was a small boy, he'd been fascinated by the creatures, so he's interested in them. He'd spent hour after long hour dragon watching in secret. You can imagine him if they had binoculars on. Looking out at him. Dragon spotters were thought to be geeks and nerds, hence the need for secrecy. And what Hiccup had learned about dragons told him that walking into a cave with 3,000 dragons in it is an act of madness. So again, Mad Hatter, craziness. No one else seemed too concerned, however. In a few minutes, I want you to take one of these baskets and start climbing the cliff, commanded Gobber the Belch. Once you are at the cave entrance, you are on your own. I am too large to squeeze my way into the tunnels that lead to the dragon nursery. You will enter the cave quietly. Based on his example. Good luck with that, especially with the little boys, because little kids and any kids, compared to an adult, might have a harder time being quiet, especially when they're excited or scared. And that means you too, Warthog, unless you want to become the first spring meal for 3,000 hungry dragons. Ha 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 ha! Gobber laughed heartily at his little joke and continued. Dragons this size are normally fairly harmless to man, but in these numbers they will set upon you like piranhas. There'd be nothing left of even a fatso like you, Warthog. Just a pile of bones. And they were talking about our dragon basket right here. And it even gives you the good little thing of dragon goes here. So it's like a backpack that they stick it in. Just a pile of bones in your helmet. Ha 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 ha! So you will walk quietly through the cave and each boy will steal one sleeping dragon. Lift the dragon gently from the rock and place it in your basket. Any questions so far? Nobody had any questions. In the unlikely event that you do wake the dragons, and you would be idiotically stupid to do so, run like thunder for the... Run like thunder to the entrance of the cave. Dragons do not like cold weather, and the snow will probably stop them in their tracks. Probably? Thought Hiccup? Oh, that's reassuring. So reassuring means like, oh, it makes you feel better. I'm assuming Hiccup's being a little sarcastic here. Like, probably doesn't make me feel better. I would like it to be for sure. Like, there's some things where you hear, you'll probably be okay. Where you're like, no. Unless I know I'm okay, I'm not doing it. Like, some things, it's like, okay, it probably won't rain. You know, you're not going to die if it rains and you don't have an umbrella. But, like, some things you're like, oh, you can take that outside. It probably won't catch fire. You'd be like, no, not taking that chance. I suggest that you spend a little time choosing your dragon. It is important to get the correct size. This will be the dragon that hunts fish for you and pulls down deer for you. You will catch the dragon that will carry you into battle later on, and when you are much older and a warrior of the tribe. But nonetheless, you want an impressive animal, so a rough guide would be choose the biggest creature that will fit into your basket. Don't linger for too long in there. Linger, thought Hiccup. In a cave full of 3,000 sleeping dragons? And for when it said linger, he put Cressida put 3 question marks like, I need to tell you, Gobber continued cheerfully, that if you return to this spot without a dragon, it is hardly worth coming back at all. Anybody who fails this task will be put into immediate exile. The Hairy Hooligan tribe has no use for failures. Only the strong can belong. So they do not have the right thinking here, because if you only did stuff that you were good at, no one would do anything. Sometimes it takes 1,000 tries to get something. There's a Henry Ford, I believe, quote on that. But I like the, and I might have mentioned this before, the Adventure Time quote. Dude, sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something. Me, I'm famous for hula hooping, especially at my new school particularly. They seem to particularly think I'm magic doing that. And I sucked at it as a kid. I could never do it once. And then we got a Wii Fit. And like when that first came out, like 2011 or something, I don't know, 2010 maybe, I don't know, middle school or high school. I sucked at that, at the Wii Fit hula hoop game, even though my mom was great. And then randomly, like 5 years later, I got really good at it, and it was like, wait a minute. I wasn't even like playing it all the time. It just at some point I tried it again and got good at it randomly out of nowhere. And I said, what if I do this with a hoop? Boom. Unhappily, Hiccup looked around at the distant horizon. Nothing but snow and sea as far as the eye could see. Exile didn't look too promising either. Exile meaning, you're just going to be all by yourself somewhere else. You ain't coming back here. Kind of like being banned from the place. Unhappily, no, say, wait a minute, we just did that. Right, said Gobber briskly. Each boy take a basket and put their dragon in, and we'll get going. The boys rushed to get their baskets, chattering happily, excitedly. I'm going to get one of those monstrous nightmares. Oh, there's a name we've heard from the movies. One with extra extendable claws. They're really scary, but it's not like, and if you know, he does have a monstrous nightmare in the movies. Oh, shut up, Snotlout. You can't, said Speeda fast. Only Hiccup can have a monstrous nightmare. You have to be the son of the chief. Hiccup's father was Stoke the Vast, the fearsome chief of the Hairy Hooligan tribe. So in this case, that's a thing. Like, because they killed dragons over there, that wouldn't have been a thing of like, no, Snotlout can't have a monstrous nightmare because nobody had anything. And of course, we know Hiccup ended up getting something way more special than that in the movies. But that doesn't seem, we don't know if that exists in this setup, or that particular classification. Because, like we said, the characters and names, I don't know. Well, right now we know there's Monstrous Nightmare. Hiccup, Snoot Snout, if he's as useless as he is at Bashy Ball, so they even have their own games, we'd be lucky if he even gets one of the basic browns. So, the basic brown was the most common type of dragon, a serviceable beast, but without much glamour. Shut up and get into line, you miserable tadpoles, yelled Gobber the Belch. The boys scrambled into their places, baskets on their backs, and stood to attention. Gobber walked along the line, lighting the torch that each boy held in front of him, from the great flare in his hand. In half an hour's time, you will be a Viking warrior with your faithful serpent at your side. Serpent, I think they're not actually serpents, but of course some of them can be rather serpent-like. If you see the motion of the neck of the hideous Zibblewag, I would say that neck is kind of serpent-like. And, the reptile thing and things, that they're definitely, from what we've heard of dragons in myths and stuff, they're very much, especially the ones in the How to Train Your Dragon universe, for sure, the kind that are, definitely, if they would be reptiles like alligators and lizards and stuff, just ones that can fly and breathe fire and such. Okay. Oh, and they always have this because from the dragon book, they always have the pages from it popping up every now and then. Sometimes Hiccup's adding to it stuff that already says, different things like that. Viking dragons and their eggs. The common or garden and the basic brown. So that's what that's supposed to be. The common or garden and the basic brown are similar that they can be dealt with, are so similar that they can be dealt with together. So just lump them all into a pile. These are the most familiar breeds, the ones we instantly think of when we say dragons, like how you might think of a particular kind of dog when you think dog. Like you're not thinking of a poodle first and foremost, or a dachshund first and foremost. They might be if you just happen to really like those, but when you just are drawing a basic dog, you just kind of draw maybe a lab or something. Just the most basic shape and colors. Black, blonde, brown, with the floppy ears off to the side and the short hair. Done. Or like cats, like there's the most basic, just cat. That's not got a particular pattern or anything. It's got this just simple shape, and it's got whatever color that happens to be on it. These are the most familiar breeds and the ones we instantly think of when we say dragons. They are poor hunters, but they are easy to train. Give and take. These dragons are the best kind for family pets. Although, as with a lion or a tiger, they should never be left unsupervised with very young children. Oh, Lord have mercy. Good for family pets, but it's like having a lion or a tiger that you can't leave with. What? The Vikings. Statistics. Colors. Green and yellow, and all shades of brown. Green and yellow sounds like I think the terrible terrors we usually see are usually that color. Armed with basic teeth and claws, 3. Defenses, prickly spines, 2. I wonder if this is out of 10. Radar, none, so 0. Poison, none, so 0. Hunting ability, lethargic hunters. Like, lethargic sound like you're half asleep. Speed, swift in retreat. So they're fast, but notice it says in retreat, and it says 8 for that. So that means when they're running away, they're fast as heck. So, yeah, could you use that speed in a way that helps me? I guess if you're riding on, if these are ones that you can ride, maybe, that would be good in terms of you getting away from something, if it's taking you with it, but otherwise. Fear and fight factor. Good when angry, 4. So, I guess 4 is because if it's angry, you're good, but since most of the time it probably isn't necessarily angry, it might be scared, but it's not necessarily angry, then it doesn't balance if it's only going to be this much of the time. Now, if it was like most of the time angry, then it'd probably be higher, but since it's not, last page. In half an hour's time, you will be a Viking warrior with your faithful servant at your side, or breakfasting with Odin in Valhalla with dragon's teeth in your bottom. Now, for whatever reason, I might look this up. Odin has a W, even though usually we think of it as being not, and I know that that's the way it's pronounced. I'm going to take a look real quick, just may as well, because otherwise, especially since this is just a preview. Let's see. Why Odin has a W. Comes from the Anglo-Saxons adapted the name of the old Germanic god when they brought their language into Britain. In Old German and Old Norse, so Norse being exactly the Viking type stuff, which because it's Norse mythology that you hear these guys. The god was called Odin, Wotan, or Odin, which is the normal way we think of it, Odin. The initial sound was a W in many Western dialects. The Anglo-Saxons called him Woden. That's why in English we still see the W. Connection to Wednesday. Wednesday is, because I knew, and I've been saying this to kids since school started, wasn't a thing, that Thor's Day, and I know it's like Freya's Day or something like Freya's Tag, is Friday and Thursday. So I was like, what about the rest? How does that fit in? This makes it make more sense. Wednesday is literally Woden's Day, or Odin's Day. Woden's Tag. Woden's Tag. In contrast, the Norse influence gave other languages a version from Odin. German, Mittwoch now, but older, Wodenstag. So they actually had that. Now it's just like middle day, because hump day, middle of the week. Old Norse and Icelandic, Odinstaga, literally Odin's Day. Dutch, Woensdag, Woden's Day, still with the W, so they still say that sound. So the W is not random. It reflects the West Germanic pronunciation of the god's name that Old English inherited rather than the Norse Odin without it. So they're using the Germanic versus the actual like Viking Norse setup. Screamed Gobber with, or breakfasting with Odin in Valhalla with dragon's teeth in your bottom. Screamed Gobber with horrible enthusiasm. So basically he's saying, you're going to die and go to their version of heaven or heck if you don't, if you're not over here having won and got your dragon at this point, because it's going to have bitten you in the butt and you're going to be dead. With horrible enthusiasm, because they're like, why are you so excited about saying that we're going to be dead with dragon's teeth in our butt? Death or glory, yelled Gobber. Death or glory, yelled 8 boys back at him fanatically, like they're big fans of it. They're like, yeah, we're going to do this. Kind of like fans at a football game kind of thing. Death, thought Hiccup and Fishlegs sadly, so at least Fishlegs is here with Hiccup. Gobber paused dramatically with the horn to his lips. I think this would possibly be the worst moment of my life so far. So far, it capitalizes that part. Thought Hiccup to himself as he waited for the blast of the horn. And if they shout much louder, we're going to wake those dragons before we even start! He's thinking this in his head. Gobber blew the horn. And I guess this is them doing the death or glory thing. You can see Hiccup just like, look at these crazy people. Now, I will tell you, the next bit is literally called Inside the Dragon Nursery, and you get a picture of and Dog's Breath. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you're going to have to get in more to find out. That picture we see right at the very beginning, that, believe it or not, is toothless. But it's a little more complicated than just, wait, how is that thing toothless? You got to read to find out, especially usually from the older Hiccup who's telling the story more than the one that we actually see. Because a lot of stuff we just hear about, like the dragon's disappearing right here in this beginning bit, like that. So there's your preview. Amazing books, and a lot of them to read. Oh my God.